Hey folks, Jackdaw here. The February gameplay leak of Dragon Age Dreadwolf has fans of the franchise equally buzzing with anticipation and concern. The game, which has been in development for 8 years, promises to continue the rich narrative and immersive gameplay that fans have come to love with Dragon Age. However, the recent leak suggests that the game will be quite different from its predecessors in some key distinctive ways. And so join me as I break down the leaked information once more and discuss how it could shape the game's mechanics, story, and overall player experience. And so with no time to waste, just like Fen'Harel sealing away the elven gods, creating the Veil, and destroying his kingdom, let's crack into this point by point. So first up, according to this leak, Dragon Age Dreadwolf will see a significant shift towards hack and slash combat, which could make the game more fast-paced and action-packed than its predecessors. Apparently, players will be able to execute moves more quickly and fluidly, including regular combo attacks, abilities, and special moves generated by a special bar, just like the new God of Wars. Additionally, the player character can for the first time parry enemy attacks and counter them. This change in combat mechanics means that the game will be less strategic than its previous installments, and this time around it's said that players may not be able to control party members during combat, and instead of that they're going to have to rely on their own skills and instincts to defeat enemies. The leak suggests that perhaps the player will be able to command a party member to attack using a specific ability, but nothing more on that front is confirmed. This departure from previous games eliminates the ability to pause and issue commands, making real-time strategic planning a thing of the past. While these combat changes could make a more thrilling, fun gameplay experience, the lack of tactics and control over party members may not sit well with most fans. Many players have come to appreciate the strategic, slower-paced combat system of previous Dragon Age games, and this new flashier hack-and-slash combat style may not be as appealing. And for a fact, many of my viewers enjoy the accessible approach of the tactic system, allowing players to really take their time, pause the game, and strategize their attacks accordingly. And that even goes when playing on a higher difficulty too. The ability to play Dragon Age Origins as a third-person action game or take a more tactical approach was one of its defining core features that revolutionized the genre in 2009. However, for Dreadwolf, it seems like we may just have to God of War it this time. While I appreciate this faster, smoother gameplay system as a hack and slash with sleeker animations than ever before, it definitely seems like it's going to be a completely different approach for every type of Dragon Age player. The next major shift regards exciting changes to the game structure, particularly with regards to the player's character class and background. The leak suggests that players this time around may have the opportunity to play as a Grey Warden, of course a beloved faction in the Dragon Age universe that is well known for protecting Thedas against the Darkspawn. This news is especially thrilling for players who want to reprise the role of a Warden just like in Origins. Additionally, the fact that the player character is described as a Knight class has led me to speculate that Dreadwolf will return to the series' roots with more emphasis on origin stories, a beloved feature of the franchise ever since Dragon Age Origins back in 2009. In the original game, players could choose between 6 different origin stories affected by their background and their class, each of which provided a unique backstory and motivations for the player's character. These origin stories were lauded for adding depth and richness to the game's narrative, and their absence in subsequent games has been a major point of disappointment for many of us fans. The return of origin stories, particularly with a new character such as a Grey Warden, would likely be seen as a positive development by all of us. Furthermore, this leak reveals that the player character will be exploring the Grey Warden's HQ, Fortress Weishaupt, confirming that this will be a location in Dragon Age Dreadwolf regardless of the context. We're going to get more Fortress Weishaupt, more Grey Warden lore, and more history on the Grey Wardens, especially with this being their HQ. Even more fascinating is the fact that recently the HQ retrieved a bunch of griffin eggs, and that is definitely a story point I want to see explored in Dreadwolf. Although it is quite a shame to see Weishaupt already being attacked by Red Lyrium Darkspawn and a dragon, so clearly things aren't going well in Weishaupt. Next point we have is the leaked information about the use of a mirrored portal for transportation in Dreadwolf, suggesting a departure from the open world approach seen in Inquisition, which I think is a massive positive boost in its development because the open world dynamic of Inquisition just didn't work. There were parts of it that yes were very enjoyable, but just looking at BioWare's open world dynamic with Inquisition, Andromeda Anthem, it just hasn't really worked for them. And so this Alluvian transportation method indicates towards a more linear narrative structure with probably more hub-based worlds than anything. Now that obviously doesn't mean that the game is going to be devoured of exploration and player agency. It hopefully hopefully means it's just not going to be as tedious as Inquisitions. So rather than being limited to a predetermined path, players may then have the option to choose which areas they want to visit and which order. Which mirror do we go through first, for example, while still then following a predetermined storyline. Just like in Dragon Age Origins or Dragon Age 2, where you have the necessary levels that you want to do, you've got these areas that you can explore with some capacity of freedom, and really it's up to the player to decide where they want to go and what they want to do first. And for Dreadwolf, I believe that this would provide a more focused and streamlined experience with less aimlessly wandering and more purposeful exploration. And of course, this mirrored portal system, i.e. Alluvian travel, is identical to the one used in Trespasser, which allowed players to travel between different areas of the game world, offering more exploration while still maintaining that linear storyline. If Dreadwolf takes a very similar approach, it could offer a more engaging and focused experience for players without the hassle of fetch quests and excessive wandering that many of us found tedious. It remains to be seen how the system will work, especially with the scale of Dreadwolf, for example from going to Navarra to Tevinter to Weishaupt, whatever. And I'm also even more interested in the fact that a certain Mr. Fenharel has overridden the Alluvian network for himself, so how would that work? But I'm sure we can get some lore reason behind that. Lastly, it's important to note that while this leak indicates that the game is undergoing somewhat of a soft rework with removing the remaining multiplayer content while in its alpha stage, it's unclear what exactly this means for the final product. Like when I initially heard this leak and that the development still has further to go, yet the game's in its alpha stage, I was like, wouldn't this removal of multiplayer content and live service elements been done before? Why is it all happening now? What's going on? Is this a soft rework? Is it another soft reboot? But I don't think that's the case. I think that the developers are just making significant changes to the game's mechanics, story, and other elements, probably because of the game's foundations and framework, especially being built on Anthem's code base and tools of the Frostbite engine. Clearly, there's still a fair bit of work to be done in that regard. However, regardless of what's going on with the removal of multiplayer content, BioWare have emphasized a plethora of times that they are focused on delivering a compelling single-player experience with a laser focus. So the fact that remnants of the multiplayer elements can still be felt in the game's current build, it just showcases that the development team still have more tweaks to make before that upcoming and fainted launch stage, which we all really hope they get to pretty soon. All of course in their own time, but still, we've been waiting for 8 years now. In conclusion, the February leak of Dreadwolf has revealed several key details about the game, which suggest it will be quite different from its predecessors. While the shift towards hack and slash combat and the absence of party controls may be concerning to some, the return of origin stories and a more linear yet with freedom driven approach offer promising developments. It remains to be seen whether the game will live up for the high expectations of us all, but this leak has certainly given us plenty to think and speculate about, even almost 2 months after its initial reveal. But I want to know all of your thoughts on each of these shifts and your expectations for Dreadwolf based on this leak. Am I being completely hyperbolic, or do I have understandable concerns referring to this leak and what it means for Dreadwolf? Please let me know all of your thoughts down below. But until the next one, I have been Jackdaw, and you're already in the right place for all the latest on Dreadwolf. Until next one, I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.